In this video I show you how to perform an examination of the anal canal with the Spector from BK Medical. We start with the mandatory entry of the patient ID. For this purpose we press just patient. Then we fill in these values and press next. Then we get to the probe selection menu and select the desired probe. In that case it's a 20R3 probe. This leads us to the menu item presets. Here we can choose whatever we want to examine. We choose the colorectal and anal. Now another menu appears with frequency, dynamic range, depth, and so on. In these scanners, these parameters have been greatly simplified and fully automated. However, I will explain why these settings are so important. We start with frequency, depth, width, resolution, distance and acquisition time. That frequency. The closer the examined object to the transducer center, the higher the frequency should be chosen. For the assessment of the anal sphincter, the highest possible level, 14 MHz and 9038 probe, or even higher for this 20R3 probe, should be chosen. We choose it directly by using this button. For an overview, we should choose between 9 and 10 MHz. This allows to show structures that are farther away from the probe properly as well. For depth settings, we should realize how far into the tissue we want to see. That means how far the structure to be examined from the probe center is. And the width, depending on the position of the organ to be examined, 1 until 5 centimeters. Resolution, the slower the better, in this scanner remains in standard position. The smaller the distance between the cuts, the more accurate the final 3D image. It's a big difference whether we have 10 or 300 frames in a 6 cm 3D box. The simple thing here is the more the better in terms of quality. But the more frames in a box, the longer it takes the device to obtain these pictures. When assessing the anal canal, if no disturbing factors, for example pain, are present, this distance should be chosen as low as possible. The higher the distances, the lower their recording time, but the worse the recording results. In summary, we can say for our 3D sonography assessment: frequency for overview recordings 9 until 10 MHz. For the detailed recording as high as possible. That means 16 MHz for this probe and 14 MHz for 9038 probe. Depth, depending on the location of the organ to be examined, and width as well. Resolution, the slower the better, in this scanner remains in standard position. Distance, the smaller the better, 0.2 millimeters are preferable. Acquisition time inversely proportional to the distance. So finally, how should I choose my settings for the 3D sonography of the anal canal? Megahertz, overview 10 MHz. Detail recordings, sphincter for example, 16 MHz. Depth and width, depending on the position of the organ to be examined, 1 until 5 centimeters. Resolution as long as possible remains in this scanner in standard position. Distance or spacing 0.2 millimeters. Acquisition time then will be about 60 until 90 seconds. As we see, it is not difficult to choose the right parameters for 3D sonography. This is how your diagnostic will surely be successful and reliable. Thank you very much.